we are just days away now from Christmas, but could some of those gifts for the kids have some unexpected consequences later in life? Megan Poliquin with the Zepf Center is here to explain. We're talking gambling and youth, and you don't think about that. Gambling's a problem. It's everywhere now. I mean, you turn on ESPN, all they talk about is the lines on games and picking games and the latest information. It's on the radio everywhere, and then you go to a carry-out, it's everywhere too. And we don't remember like how that all starts when it's getting worse, it's more prevalent. Kids exposed to this stuff, and that's not good.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a big reason this holiday season we're talking about this is we want people to gift responsibly and to reconsider putting a scratch-off ticket or a gambling game in your loved one's stocking stuffer this year, and to give a more age-appropriate gift.
Do people do that?
Sure. I mean, gambling is designed to be fun. It's designed to be a form of entertainment. It's totally understandable why that might kind of slip through our brains as like, that's normal, that's fine. But I want to encourage people to think about the hidden ramifications of that,
Sure.
of priming a young one's brain to think about gambling from a young age, and then what happens when they do get older and they do turn 18 is that they are more likely to engage in gambling and potentially have a gambling problem later in life.
Well, Megan, it's similar to like you wouldn't give your child a hit of marijuana. You wouldn't give your 10-year-old kid a beer any more than you'd want them starting to just be exposed to what gambling is, because that's just, you hate to jump from that to that, but it could happen early. And
it's absolutely correct. You know, gifting responsibly. Gambling is designed for adults, and it's not designed for kids. And so when you want to gift responsibly, alcohol, marijuana, gambling, those are things that you might want to exclude from a child's stocking stuffer. You might want to consider something for their health and wellness, or a game they really enjoy, or just providing some quality time in some activities you could do together.
Tell me about Change the Game, kind of a youth gambling prevention program.
Yeah, so Ohio has a website called Change the Game, and there is a lot of resources for youth gambling and gaming prevention, and there's a lot of resources for educators and parents and loved ones to learn about what type of gambling might be in the games that your children and your teenagers are playing, and ways to navigate that and to make sure that the kids are playing the games responsibly and not gambling in those games.
And now, we're not exaggerating here, because there are studies that have shown that early exposure to gambling does promote a life toward that problem.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. That's what the research indicates, is that early exposure, the earlier that you're exposed to gambling, the more likely you're going to want to continue gambling, and that you might develop a problem later on in life.
There's also online gambling and loot boxes. I've never heard, what are loot boxes?
So loot boxes are in a lot of video games, and they are usually something that you can spend your real money on to get a mystery item. And you might spend $1 on a loot box and get a mystery item that's worth more than $1. You might spend $1 and get an item that's worth nothing. And so that's how it's gambling, right? You're spending your real money to potentially get an item that will further you along in the game you're playing, but you don't know if that item is going to be worth what you paid for or not.
For whether it's a child gambling or an adult, what are some warning signs that we're going down a path we shouldn't be going down?
Definitely spending more money beyond your means. If you're a child or a teenager and you're a parent on the lookout or a loved one on the lookout, you know, if your loved one or your child is asking for more money than they usually do, or they're talking about gambling and exaggerating their wins and minimizing their losses, or if there's any changes in their normal mood, if they're more irritated or down than usual, that's something that you're going to want to look into at any rate if they're acting different than usual.
We're about out of time here, but then the Zepf Center, a number of programs they have there, but they have a program for troubled gamblers, kids as well as adults.
Yeah, so we have youth programming at Zepf Center, we have adult programming at Zepf Center, and the gambling treatment program will work with anyone that has gambling-related concerns. Even if you're a loved one or a family member concerned about someone else's gambling, we'll talk to you about that too.
Always good to keep track of each other and help your family and loved ones.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for coming down. Megan from the Zepf Center.